Hello all. I want to thank you for joining me in our reading of 2nd John. It'll be an exciting study, I'm sure. We'll pray through the letter, we'll learn a few things, and more than that, we'll try to apply the things we read and examine to our own lives. So I thank you for being part of this online community. As we read 2nd John, we're going to notice that this letter has so much in common with 1st John. For one thing, the author seems to be refuting the same opponents that he was refuting in 1st John. And an indication of that is found in verse 7. I'm talking about 2nd John and verse 7. Here is what John writes there. Many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist. I know that those of you who went through 1st John with us recognize that passage and the terms in that passage. Antichrist, the refusal to believe that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, and that many deceivers have gone out into the world. Yes, it seems that John is refuting the same opponents in 2nd John that he did in the letter of 1st John. And who are those opponents? It seems to me that John is battling an early form of Gnosticism in his writings, an early form of Gnosticism. Gnosticism was a false teaching, that flourished in the 2nd century. It proclaimed a radical dualism. Think about God versus human beings, and spirit versus flesh, and the spiritual versus the physical. By radical dualism, I mean these two elements, or these two things, are far apart from each other, very much separated. Gnosticism taught that complete separation from God and human beings, or from the physical and the spiritual. It taught that the spiritual could not reside in the physical, because the physical was evil. Matter was evil. So, that's where we get the idea in 1st John, when the false teachers say they don't believe that Jesus Christ came in the flesh. That is, they don't believe that the Son of God could be joined to a human being named Jesus. That's early Gnosticism, that the flesh and the spirit are not going to co-inhabit a certain body. They taught that the world is evil and dark, and that the only way to be rescued from this world of darkness, the only hope for freedom from this world, is by the power of special knowledge. Special knowledge. Now, one of the Greek words for knowledge is gnosis, Gnosis, and of course our Gnosticism comes from that word gnosis. The Gnostics claimed that they had special insight, that they were an elite group, that they had a special status that came to them because they had this special knowledge that others didn't have. And you know from your reading of 1st John what John thought about that. Because how many times does John say in that letter, we know this. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot know something. We know this. We know that. And in particular, what John wrote is that one can know God, even in this world, and that one can know that one is saved. So John seems to be fighting pre-Gnosticism in these first two letters. Who is the author of this particular letter? Well, in this case, he describes himself as the elder. Now that could mean just an older man, or it could even mean one of the personal disciples of Jesus. Early church history tells us that this term did refer to the early disciples of Jesus, but more than likely, this term refers to a member of the presbytery or a member of the eldership. Of course, John was both an older man and likely an elder of the church when he writes this. And so John the Elder is the author of this particular letter. And it's written to the recipients. Who are they? The elect lady. The elect lady, who is that? Is it an individual, or is it the personification of a church? In Scripture, this word elect is used more commonly to refer to Christians in general, not to a particular individual, but it could also apply to a local church. And likely this term refers to a personification of a church in Asia Minor. Perhaps it refers to the church at large, or perhaps it refers to a single local congregation that John has in mind in Asia Minor. At any rate, John is writing to Christians. We're going to begin our verse-by-verse study of 2 John on Friday. That's August the 17th. And on that date, we're going to take a look at the first 2 verses of 2 John. And I'm looking forward to this study with you. By the way, if you have any question about what you read that you want to pose to the community, feel free to do that. Just post it on our Facebook community page, and we'll try to address it. And if you have some other comment, feel free to express it, because we want to go through this study together. We have found there's value in reading through a letter of the New Testament together and praying through it together and reading each other's prayers and each other's comments. So I appreciate your willingness to join us in this great journey. The second letter of John is up beginning Friday. And I'll see you in a few days, and I'll talk with you in our online community as well. God bless you.